give that a go. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome to Law Hackers. We're joined by Adam Nguyen from eBrevia. Thanks for joining us, Adam.
Thank you for having me.
Can we just start off, eBrevia, talk us through what that does?
So eBrevia is at the very core a software company that analyzes legal documents. So think of any time a lawyer or a business person who has to review or extract a lot of provisions from a huge database of contracts, that's where we come in. We're providing contract analytics, but the interesting thing about us is that we're doing it with very advanced technology, natural language processing, and machine learning technology. And so that sets us apart from a lot of the contract analytics firm that you may have run into out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And talk us through your background. How have you come about to, I guess, found this business?
So I'm a lawyer by training. I graduated from law school, Harvard Law School, in 2002, and my work started in merger and acquisition, working for a major U.S. law firm, both in the UK and in the U.S., Sherman and Sterling. And so, having done a lot of contract review, the so-called process of due diligence. Anytime you have a major transaction like M&A, you need to review a lot of contracts. Having done that, spending nights and weekends and understanding the pain of that process. So that's the first impetus, but it really came down to my classmate from law school, Ned Gannon, who was my dorm mate. He lived next door to me. We both graduated around the same time, and he approached me after we both had worked at law firms and left those our careers behind us, and thought, how can we do something better, right? And he had gone through the diligence process himself, and we explored a bunch of options. We looked at what other companies are doing out there. We looked at the space that's was currently back in, I guess, 2010, 2011, and didn't really see much in terms of technology-based solutions. So what you have is, you have a trend in the U.S. And here in the UK too, actually, of outsourcing to India, or in the U.S. to India, or to less expensive locations outside of core technology centers like New York or San Francisco, to do the work cheaply, but it's still human-based. So you have hundreds of contract attorneys just reviewing thousands of legal documents, right? People are still making mistakes, and the work is still very slow, albeit you reduce your costs just by that much. And then so we said, why can't we apply technology to this? And we started talking to different universities, MIT, Stanford, Harvard, Columbia, and Columbia University has a what's called a technology transfer office, and other universities have them too, but Columbia is very robust, and they had been doing this for a long time. And their tech transfer office put us in touch with the computer science department at Columbia. And the vice dean of research, Professor Kathy McEwen, had to be convinced somewhat that this problem that we were describing to her is very real, because in her world she didn't know about, and most people don't really know about, the process of legal due diligence or what law firms, law associates have to do. You picture this world of corporate lawyers being very glamorous, and everyone wearing expensive suits and going to trial. But the reality is, you have a bunch of associates sitting in their offices or conference rooms all nights and weekends, scanning documents after document. So we met with Professor Kathy McEwen. We presented the problem to her, the extent of the problem, and we described how her technology could be applied to the legal space. Yeah. And then the next step was that, after having her on board, having Columbia on board, eBrevia was formed, and then it just initially, Ned Gannon, my co-founder, and I, we then sponsored research from Columbia. And so when you sponsor research, what you have to do is spend money. You have to pay Columbia to pay for the faculty research, and then Professor McEwen recruited one of her graduate students, Jacob Munt, and as part of his graduate studies, he worked on conducting original research to adapt the existing technology to the legal domain.
Yeah, wow.
Because think about it, it's the existing technology is like dough, right, sitting there, and how do you fashion the dough into a certain baked good for this particular baked good, and that technology that I was referring to had been used in different contexts, like abstracting news, summarizing news articles, or abstracting medical records from hospitals or just in the healthcare industry. And so we said, well, why can't we use that same technology for the legal domain? So we sponsored the research. It was expensive, it was long, and then we provided Jake and Professor Kathy McEwen with all these examples, right? That's where our industry, Ned and mine, our industry expertise came in. Having practiced as corporate transactional attorneys, we said, this is the work product that we have to do. This is the process. These are the types of legal agreements that the software ultimately would have to extract from. So I think it took about a year or so to develop a prototype, a working prototype. Then we went out and showed it into the marketplace, demonstrated to attorneys and other users. Long story short, we got angel investors. We did a soft launch at demo in California at the end of 2012. We raised our first round in the beginning of 2013, a seed round that we've used up until now, and there's still more to go, to bring that prototype that I described to a full product. And the full product is currently being used by a number of beta users at law firms, at various companies, and we're working with them to enhance the product even more. So it's constant R&D. R&D doesn't stop.
So you've got a working product. I mean, how fast are we talking? How much efficiency is it demonstrating at the moment?
Yeah, as I mentioned the other day at Reinvent Law, the capability of the software at this point is that it could extract relevant provisions and contents from a stack of at least 50 legal documents. Obviously, it depends on the length of the legal documents, but on average, about 50 legal documents, contracts, in under a minute. Under a minute. And the lawyers who've been using this, they said that it saved them time and costs of at least 50% from what they were doing before. At least 50%.
And you're in beta phase, you just said, and you've got some users. What's sort of the next steps and timing to release a fully fledged product?
You're talking about it, any day now. We call it a beta phase, but it's more than a beta phase because it's already functioning. It's already adding, it's already assisting lawyers and other users. So where we are is we're experimenting with different pricing structures and see how we can address the needs of some of these very large companies and understand, what else do they need in addition to what we're already offering. Because some companies, we're offering the product, it's very useful, but they want to add another layer of customization that is unique to their company or to their industry. So we want to go in and be able to do all of that all at once. But the product that we have now is ready to be launched. And so we're just strategically finding that time, whether is it this summer or is it the fall? You know, when would be an optimal time to?
Well, I mean, it sounds like a great journey, and it's all been smooth sailing. But of course, that's never quite the reality. I mean,
I skipped over a lot of little.
Well, did you want to shed light on any of those? I mean, any major lessons learned that you want to share?
Some of the you know, we really lucked out in finding Jake and having Columbia as a backer, and you know, I wanted to mention that Columbia granted us the exclusive license to commercialize their technology, so that's a huge plus. And having Jake come on as a third co-founder, someone with the expertise, and even before his graduate studies, he had worked in this industry, so he has both industry experience and academic experience. One of the challenging things that we face, and I think a lot of technology companies have faced, is recruiting talent. And specifically in our area, recruiting coders and programmers in not just any programmers, but in natural language processing and machine learning. And we have many applications from, you know, we recruit from all the top engineering schools in the US, and maybe we should branch to the UK too. And I feel sorry for Jake, because in addition to dealing with product development, he has to interview candidates. But so far we just haven't found, you know, that person that we're looking for. And we have very high standards, obviously, and we're not willing to lower them. But that's something that I don't think I had expected, because you know, when you're going into something like tech, you think it's very glamorous, and a lot of people are attracted to it, and a lot of people are attracted to it, but not everyone is qualified to do it. And so that's been a big surprise for me. Another surprise is obtaining examples from actual transactions to train the software. And so we had, you know, when we first started working on the prototype, we said, oh, you know, we could get, you know, a few hundreds of these documents to train the software, and Professor McEwen says, well, I think we need a few thousand examples. And so we're like, oh.
And not many people are opening up their due diligence.
Yeah, exactly. And so we had to go look for publicly available information, and so that took some additional time in the beginning to get all of the examples, and we managed to get them. But it's an unforeseen hurdle. So those two things, I think, that you know, finding talent and finding available examples to train the software.
Well, I mean, the market at the moment with in legal tech, there seems to be a few businesses trying to do something similar. I mean, how do you see that, I guess, the algorithmic or natural language processing of contracts? Where do you see that market heading?
The nice thing is there are several very strong companies out there in this space at varying stages of development, and so that to us and to our investors is an affirmation that one, there's a need in the market, and that, you know, that not just a need, but that people are willing to use this product, because some of our competitors have picked up clients and so forth. I think where we stand out, I think, you know, not without, you know, saying bad things about the other company, I think where we stand out is that, one, we have the backing of a major research institution, right? So our research is very sound, our technology is very sound, it's very innovative without revealing, you know, our secret sauce. It's licensed to us by Columbia. I had mentioned that before. The faculty member, the Vice Dean of Research from Columbia, is one of our advisors. So on the R&D side, which is constant, right? Because we have Columbia, and it's in their vested interest to continue to develop the product. Even after we launch the product, the R&D will continue, and we're continuing to increase the capabilities of the software. So I think that's something that's really unique. I don't think the other companies have research, that university research backing that we have. And then I've looked at some of the other companies. They usually maybe it's one founder or maybe two co-founders. And I think our team is very strong. We have two people, Ned and I, who came from industry. We're not recent graduates. We've been around for a decade, over a decade.
Yeah,
we're old.
You've literally hit thousands of documents on the head and experienced the pain for yourself.
Yeah, and then our third co-founder, Jake. He has both the academic expertise, having graduated from Columbia as a graduate student there, but also the industry experience. And I found it very hard to recruit people like that to companies. A technical person who also have the industry experience and can understand that you can't just develop things in a vacuum, that it has to match up with what practitioners need, right? So that's a real strength in our team. And then our user interface is fantastic. It's very user friendly. Going back to what I said about industry experience, because we know what needs to be generated, what is useful to us, and we have a very deep network of partners that we know, that we've been friends with and went to law school with at law firms, associate general counsels that we draw upon to develop the software and address their needs. And I think that's the big difference if you compare it to some of the other technology companies that are out there.
Well, if we look at legal tech generally in the startup space, law is definitely experiencing somewhat of a boom. Either in your area or outside of your area, do you have any startups that really, I guess, take your fancy, look interesting?
Yeah, and I mentioned the other day Ravel Law. Ravel Law is in the legal tech space, but they're different from what we do. While we focus on contracts and due diligence and contract management, they focus on legal research. So what they're doing is they're bringing graphics design to legal research. So if you're looking up, say if you're writing a brief on habeas corpus and you need to do legal research on that, instead of just presenting you with a bunch of case law, right? They present it in beautiful graphic interface, a nicely designed interface with colors and charts and graphs, and you can see the connection between
the linkages.
The linkages between case law, and I think that is very compelling, and that's something that the computer science department at Stanford and the law school have worked very well together. And you see the innovation in the legal industry. The real innovation comes from collaboration between different disciplines, right? So the law school is doing its own thing a lot of times, and then the computer department's doing its own thing a lot of times, but you need to marry all that knowledge within a research university. And I mean, that's what we try to do with Columbia, bringing industry to the research labs, but there's more that we could do. We could work with Columbia Law School, which we haven't approached yet. We could work with my own law school, Harvard, and Harvard has a very advanced center called Internet and Society or something like that. The Berkman Center for Internet. So bringing all of these parties together, but Ravel Law, that's a very compelling one, and that they raised, I believe, about $8 million in funding, and I like that I like that product a lot.
Yeah, fantastic. Oh, well, look, you're obviously a wanted man. The phone's ringing in the background, and thanks so much for your time today, Adam.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
For having me.